think I lost my dad's medal.
I don't think it's about the medal. I think LJ wants his dad to feel real.
I wish I could tell him stories about his dad.
Maybe that's an idea.
It's like a scavenger hunt, only instead of prizes, we're gathering memories.
People are more than things, and our memories of them are what keep them alive better than anything else.
Everything was perfect until it wasn't. Nathan had the ring. He had the moment. He had the courage, but in the final seconds before everything could change forever, something almost destroyed it all. A single hesitation, a single interruption, a single heartbeat too long. And the proposal that was meant to be perfect nearly slipped through his hands. In episode 10 of When Calls the Heart, season 13, the ending is not just emotional. It is intense, fragile, and filled with quiet danger. Because this is not just about asking a question, this is about risking everything for love. And as Nathan moves closer to that life-changing moment, the episode slowly reveals that even the most carefully planned proposal can fall apart in an instant. The final act begins with a sense of calm, but it is not peaceful. It is the kind of calm that feels heavy, like something is about to break. Nathan stands on the edge of the moment he has been building toward for so long. The ring is finally ready. The size is perfect. The secret mission is complete. But now comes the hardest part. Facing Elizabeth. You can feel it in the way he moves. Controlled on the outside, but inside, everything is racing. His thoughts are louder than ever. Every step feels heavier. Every second stretches longer. This is no longer about planning. This is about truth. Raw, unfiltered truth. Because once he asks, there is no going back. What makes this ending so powerful is how it shifts from action to emotion. The danger is no longer about being caught or losing the surprise. The danger now is rejection. The fear that after everything, Elizabeth might not be ready. And that fear follows Nathan like a shadow as he approaches her. The world around them feels quieter, almost like Hope Valley itself is holding its breath. Elizabeth is unaware, but not completely. There is something in the air, something she can feel even if she cannot explain it. She notices the way Nathan looks at her, the way he pauses before speaking, the way his usual confidence is replaced by something softer, something more vulnerable, and that is where the tension begins to rise again. Because just as Nathan prepares to speak, just as the moment is about to unfold, something interrupts the flow. It is small, almost unnoticeable. But in a moment like this, even the smallest disruption feels massive. A delay, a distraction, a shift in timing, and suddenly, the perfect moment he imagined starts to slip. This is where the proposal almost fails. Nathan hesitates, not because he is unsure of his love, but because he is overwhelmed by it. The weight of everything they have been through crashes into this one moment. The memories, the risks, the quiet fears that never fully disappear. And for a brief second, it feels like he might lose his chance. Elizabeth senses it. She sees something in his eyes, something deeper than usual. And that is what makes this moment so intense. Because now, the surprise is no longer fully hidden. The emotional truth begins to surface before the words are even spoken. And that changes everything. The beauty of this scene is not in what happens, but in what almost happens. The proposal does not fail because of a mistake. It almost fails because of how real it is. Because love, in its purest form, is never perfect. It is messy. It is uncertain. It is filled with moments where everything feels like it could fall apart. And in that fragile space, Nathan must decide, does he step forward or does he let the moment pass? This is the turning point of the entire episode. The moment where suspense reaches its peak, not through action, but through emotion. The kind of tension that does not come from danger outside, but from the fear inside. The moment does not collapse all at once. It slips slowly, almost silently. Nathan stands there, caught between what he planned and what he feels. And that small gap becomes the most dangerous space in the entire episode. Everything he rehearsed in his mind begins to blur. The perfect words he imagined suddenly feel distant. The confidence he carried just moments ago starts to crack under the weight of reality. Because this is no longer a plan. This is Elizabeth standing in front of him, real, present, and unknowingly holding the answer to everything. And in that fragile pause, the proposal begins to drift off course. Elizabeth senses the shift immediately. She may not know exactly what Nathan is about to do, but she knows something is different. The way he looks at her is not casual. It is not ordinary. There is depth in his eyes, something heavy, something unspoken, and it pulls her attention completely. She She stops, listens, watches, and that is what makes the moment even more intense. Because now, Nathan is no longer in control of the timing. The element of surprise, the careful pacing, the perfect setup, it all begins to unravel in the quietest way possible. A simple question from Elizabeth, soft but direct, cuts through the moment. It is not meant to interrupt, but it does. It forces Nathan to respond, to step out of his internal world and back into the present. And for a second, he hesitates again. That hesitation stretches longer than it should. Long enough to create doubt, long enough to make the moment feel uncertain. This is where the proposal almost fails completely. Not because something dramatic happens, but because everything becomes too real, too exposed. Nathan's heart is no longer protected by planning or secrecy. It is right there, vulnerable, visible in every word he struggles to say. His voice, which once felt steady, now carries the weight of everything he is trying to hold together. And the more he tries to regain control, the more the moment resists him. It is like trying to hold on to something delicate while your hands are shaking. The intention is pure, but the execution becomes fragile. Elizabeth watches him closely now. Her expression shifts, not into confusion, but into understanding. She begins to feel the emotion behind his hesitation. She senses that this is not just a normal conversation. Something important is trying to break through, but it is being held back by fear. And that realization changes the energy between them. The tension is no longer hidden. It becomes shared, even without words. This is where the episode reaches a deeper level of emotional suspense. Because now, it is not just about whether Nathan will propose. It is about whether he will find the strength to move past his fear at the exact moment it matters most. Every second feels heavier. Every silence feels louder. Even the smallest movement, a breath, a glance, carries meaning. Nathan's mind races again, but this time it is not about planning. It is about courage. He replays everything in a flash. The journey they have taken, the quiet moments that built their connection, the risks they both took to reach this point, and most importantly, the possibility that if he does not act now, he may lose this moment forever. That thought hits him harder than anything else. Because losing the surprise is one thing, but losing the chance is something he cannot accept. And yet, the fear remains, the fear that Elizabeth might not be ready. The fear that this moment, instead of bringing them closer, might create distance. That fear lingers in his hesitation, in the slight tremble of his voice, in the way he pauses just a second too long before speaking again. It is subtle, but powerful, and the audience feels every part of it. The beauty of this near failure is how real it feels. There are no dramatic interruptions, no sudden chaos, just human emotion, raw and unfiltered, creating a tension that is almost unbearable. Because everyone watching knows what Nathan wants to say. Everyone can feel what is coming. But the question is no longer what will happen. It is, will he be able to say it in time? Elizabeth takes a small step closer, not physically pulling him forward, but emotionally meeting him halfway. Her presence becomes steady, grounding. She does not rush him. She does not pressure him. But her attention, her quiet patience, creates a space where the truth can exist. And that is what Nathan needs most in this moment. Not perfection, not control, just the courage to be honest. But even with that, the tension does not disappear. It grows because now the moment has changed. It is no longer the perfect proposal he imagined. It is something more real, more unpredictable, and in many ways, more meaningful. And that shift forces Nathan to make a choice. Does he continue chasing the perfect version of this moment? Or does he embrace the imperfect reality in front of him? That question hangs in the air, heavy and unresolved. Because sometimes the biggest risk is not failing the plan. It is letting go of the plan entirely. And as Nathan stands there, caught between fear and love, the answer is still uncertain. The proposal is still unspoken. And the moment is hanging by a thread, waiting to either fall apart or finally come together. Everything was in place. The ring was ready. The words were rehearsed. Nathan Grant, the man who had waited longer than anyone should ever have to wait, was finally standing at the edge of the most important moment of his life. And then, in a single heartbeat, it almost fell apart. Not because of an outlaw. Not because of a storm rolling into Hope Valley. Not because of anything dramatic or loud or dangerous. It fell apart because of love itself. Because love is messy and imperfect and terrifying. And no matter how carefully you plan, it has a way of throwing something unexpected right in your path. This is not a simple story about a man buying a ring and getting down on one knee. This is the story of everything that almost went wrong. Every near miss. Every moment where one wrong glance, one misplaced word, 1 second of hesitation could have shattered the most carefully built surprise Hope Valley has ever seen. If you think you know how this episode ends, you do not. Because the ending is not just about whether Elizabeth says yes. It is about whether Nathan's heart survives the journey of getting there. The morning begins the way most dangerous things do. Quietly, Hope Valley is calm. The streets carry their usual warmth. The kind of warmth that makes you believe nothing could possibly go wrong here. Children laugh somewhere in the distance. A breeze moves through the trees. And Nathan Grant is standing very still, carrying the kind of weight that has nothing to do with his badge or his duty as a Mountie. He has made a decision. A real one. The kind of decision that changes everything. Not just for him, but for Elizabeth. For little Jack. For the future that has been quietly taking shape between them. Through shared glances and careful conversations and moments that felt too fragile to name out loud. He is going to propose to Elizabeth Thornton, and from the moment that decision becomes real inside his chest, everything shifts. The air feels different. Time moves differently. Even the simple act of walking through Hope Valley feels loaded with meaning, because every step he takes is now a step toward that moment, toward her. But before any of that can happen, before he can even begin to picture himself on one knee, before he can rehearse the words he wants to say, there is something he needs. A ring. Not just a ring that looks beautiful in a shop window. Not just something that sparkles and catches the light. He needs a ring that is right for her. A ring that fits. And that is where the first complication quietly enters the story. Not with a crash, not with any obvious warning, but with a soft and devastating realization. Nathan does not know Elizabeth's ring size. Such a small thing. Such an impossibly small detail. And yet it changes everything about how this proposal can happen. He cannot simply walk into a shop, point at a ring, and say that one. He cannot guess. Guessing would be careless, and Nathan is not a careless man. Not when it comes to her. Not when it comes to this. So he does what any man who loves someone deeply and completely would do. He thinks. He plans. He finds Charlotte and he says the words out loud for the first time. Not because he needs permission, but because saying it out loud makes it real. He is going to ask Elizabeth to marry him. And even just saying those words, even just hearing them hang in the air between him and Charlotte, something changes in his face. There is excitement there, raw and genuine and impossible to hide. But underneath the excitement, running alongside it like a shadow, there is fear. Not the kind of fear that makes a man turn back. The kind of fear that tells you exactly how much something matters. Nathan is afraid because Elizabeth matters more to him than anything. He has been careful with her, patient in a way that does not come naturally to a man like him. A man built for action, for decisiveness, for moving toward the problem and solving it. But with Elizabeth, patience was the only right answer. Because Elizabeth is not a problem to be solved. She is a person who has known real love and real loss. And she deserves to be approached with the kind of care that matches everything she carries inside her. He has given her that slowly, consistently, without pressure. And now, finally, the moment has arrived. But first, he needs that ring size. The plan that begins to take shape between Nathan and Charlotte is simple on the surface and wildly complicated underneath. Someone needs to borrow one of Elizabeth's rings. Just for a few minutes. Just long enough to trace it onto a piece of paper to capture the exact size, so that the ring Nathan chooses will slide onto her finger perfectly. No fumbling, no awkward moment where it does not fit, and the magic of the proposal gets interrupted by something as ordinary as a ring that is too big or too small. He wants perfection, not because he is rigid or controlling, but because Elizabeth deserves perfection. She deserves a moment that she will remember for the rest of her life without a single thing out of place. The plan sounds simple when you say it quickly. Borrow a ring, trace it, return it, done. But this is Elizabeth, and Elizabeth notices things. She is a teacher, a writer, a woman who has learned to pay attention to the world around her, to the small details that most people overlook. She does not miss things, which means the people carrying out this plan cannot miss anything either. Charlotte agrees to help, and the moment she agrees, the stakes rise. Because now there are two people holding this secret, and every person added to a secret is another point of possible failure. Charlotte cares about both of them deeply, and that care is exactly what makes her both the perfect ally and the most dangerous variable in the plan. She understands what this moment means. She knows what is at stake, not just for Nathan, but for Elizabeth, for little Jack, for the shape of their future together. That understanding makes her careful, incredibly careful, but it also makes her emotional, and emotion is not always easy to hide from a woman like Elizabeth, who can read a room the way other people read a book. So Operation Ring Size, as it quietly becomes known, begins not with confidence, but with a mixture of love and terror that feels almost unbearable to witness. Every detail matters, every second counts, and the episode has only just begun. The mission is now officially in motion. And that is exactly when Hope Valley, with all its warmth and familiarity and seemingly innocent daily rhythm, begins to feel like the most dangerous place Nathan has ever stood. He has faced criminals, he has ridden through storms, he has stood his ground in moments that would make most men step back. But none of that, not a single moment of his entire career as a Mountie, has prepared him for the particular kind of pressure that comes with trying to keep a secret from the woman you love in a town where everybody knows everybody and nothing stays hidden for very long. This is the world Nathan is operating in now. Not the open wilderness where danger has a face and a direction, but the close, warm, watchful world of Hope Valley, where a changed expression or a slightly too long pause in conversation can raise questions that nobody wants to answer right now. Charlotte moves through her morning with careful precision. On the outside, she is exactly who she always is. Warm, composed, present. But on the inside, she is carrying the weight of Nathan's secret like something fragile balanced on the edge of a shelf. One small movement away from falling. She knows what she has to do. She knows the importance of it. And she knows, more than anyone, how icily this could all unravel. Because the thing about Elizabeth is that she is not suspicious by nature. She does not look for secrets or search for hidden meanings behind ordinary conversations. But she is perceptive. Deeply, naturally perceptive. The kind of person who absorbs details without even trying. Who looks at a face and reads something true in it before the person has even opened their mouth. And that natural gift of perception is the single greatest threat to everything Nathan has built. So Charlotte has to be more than careful. She has to be flawless. Every word she speaks to Elizabeth has to land exactly right. Not too casual, because forced casualness has its own particular sound and Elizabeth would hear it. Not too deliberate, because deliberate behavior in a person who is usually relaxed is its own kind of signal. She has to find the perfect middle ground. The conversation that sounds like every other conversation they have ever had. While underneath it, she is quietly, carefully working toward a goal that Elizabeth cannot know anything about. It is an exhausting kind of performance. The kind that asks you to split yourself in two. To be fully present in the moment while simultaneously thinking 3 steps ahead. And Charlotte does it with a grace that is genuinely remarkable. Because she loves them both enough to hold herself completely together even when everything inside her wants to let the secret spill out. Just to release the pressure of holding it so tightly. The moment Charlotte identifies the opportunity, the window where Elizabeth is distracted just enough, everything inside the mission sharpens into focus. This is it. This is the narrow slice of time they have been waiting for. Too short to feel comfortable, too important to waste even a single second of. She moves carefully, deliberately, every action measured and precise. Nothing hurried, nothing obvious. Because hurried movements leave traces and obvious actions invite questions. She reaches Elizabeth's ring, and in that instant, the weight of what this small object represents settles over everything like a held breath. This ring, ordinary in every physical sense, a simple band of metal that Elizabeth wears without a second thought, has suddenly become the most important object in all of Hope Valley. Because what happens with this ring in the next few minutes will determine whether Nathan's proposal happens the way he has imagined it, or whether the whole carefully constructed plan collapses into something irretrievable. Charlotte takes it, and the clock, which has been ticking quietly in the background of every scene since the episode began, suddenly becomes deafening. Every second now is a second that Elizabeth might glance down. Every second is a second that someone might walk into the room at the wrong moment and ask the wrong question with the wrong expression on their face. The tracing has to happen fast, but it cannot look rushed. It has to be precise, but there is no room for hesitation. Charlotte's hands are steady because they have to be, because everything depends on them being steady. But inside her chest, there is a storm running parallel to the calm she is projecting on the surface. This is the moment where the episode stops being a romantic build-up and becomes something else entirely. Something